Thank you, Tony. Well, I'm going to spend about 1 hour talking about product development in SuperOffice. That's quite many minutes, actually. And after me, we'll have Erik Eide. It's going to be very concrete about what's coming in the next release, 7.1. This is my agenda for the first 60 minutes. I feel it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the reception of SuperOffice 7, how we see it. You think it was a good release? Did it meet your expectations? Was it like the demo version or? Even better. I'll talk about some business perspectives, since it's a mixed audience. It's not only programmers, it's salespeople and consultants and everything. So I found a couple of perspectives that I think will have impact on product development, important ones. I'll talk about 20 minutes, I believe, about what's going on in RnD, not only about the features we're planning to do, but how we work and what our thoughts are and the status, state of the nation, state of the department. And then there is a question if there is any life after 7. What kind of roadmap are we working on now? What do we plan to do in the next 18 months? So it's a mix, actually. I'm kind of curious to see if it works. Everything from marketing to client technologies. But I'll give it a try. It's a nice audience to speak to. So how do you say that? What a heart is full of, PowerPoints is really filled up with. So we'll see. By the way, do you like this new graphical style of SuperOffice? You notice that? Yeah. We feel that we can identify with these two figures, like cheerful, smiling, light, surrounded by red, and having a friendly conversation. So I think they will use a lot. Remember this one? For those of you who attended Expandable last year and some of the launch planning meetings we had, we worked quite hard during 2010. We started out in January, I think, having meetings in different settings with partners, ISVs, marketing people, and involved all the necessary people for this launch. It took us about 12 months. There's a lot of activities in there, and I'm glad to say that we reached our goals of releasing the product here as planned. Actually, it was in week 15, but very, very close to what we expected. And that was important for SuperOffice, our business, and of course the development, and we were able to start on something new. Maybe you remember this one as well. I have to give immediate credit to our certified ISVs, the 4 big ones. They prepared the software for SuperOffice 7 quite soon, were certified and tested, and was ready in the market more or less at the same time as we were. And that was very important because many of our customers, almost everyone, runs some of the modules, and if they are not 7 compatible, we were not able to upgrade the customers. So thanks to all the partners that did that job. But there are still, there are still a few, I will say is lagging, isn't that the right word? When I talk to the manager in each subsidiary, they are still waiting for some software to get upgraded because important customers run their software and they're still not ready for 7. So some of you still have a job to do. So please get out and do that job. The launch was, for the first time in SuperOffice history, done purely electronic, digital. It was built this website. We were sending out emails to all customers, all existing customers, 3 or 4 times in a row, making them aware that something exciting is coming. And this site was visited quite frequently. There's quite a lot of traffic. And I think our customers got a very good view of what we have been developing for the last 2.5 years. It was good, a good reception, I would say. This is the result so far. 840 customers are upgraded to 7. There are more than 1,000, almost 1,200 customers running it, because there are some new ones as well, but these are only ones that are upgraded from 6 to 7. And I think it's kind of cool that it's almost 30,000 people now working with SuperOffice 7, and it's been upgraded since we launched the product in 1st of January, more or less. So thanks to the partners, thanks to the SuperOffice consultants, I think it's worth an applause. As you can see, the customers that upgrade do also buy new licenses. That was one of the targets of introducing 7. Hopefully they will buy more, not only do the upgrade. If they buy more licenses, there will be, of course, license revenues to all of us, and also services related to the licenses. So there's quite a few new licenses also bought from these customers. Interesting trend. Okay, that was SuperOffice 7 so far. Actually, we'll come back to that, but we expected, RnD continued to work with 7 after we released it. We immediately started working with the SR1, because we kind of expected something to happen, especially when we should go to the larger customers. So we tried to prepare for that situation, that a number of customers would require an SR1 before they do the upgrade. And I think there wasn't so many difficulties arising right after the introduction, actually. Fewer than expected, and far fewer than we had with CRM5 and CRM6. So that's probably because we have better consultants and technicians, and maybe also a more stable product. We can discuss that in the bar. Okay. Yes, we think there are some business perspectives that you have to be aware of, and then have a great impact on product development in the coming years. It's, of course, about cloud computing, software as a service, or CRM online, as we call it. I'll talk about the marketing. You have a glimpse of SuperOffice plan to do on the marketing side. They paint a picture of what is SuperOffice emphasizing now. And it also strikes me that marketing is not what it used to be. Well, it's like making a product. It's not making up a postcard and putting in the post or a brochure. It's much more. It's much technology involved. So it's interesting to follow. Also from a product perspective, actually. SuperNet. Heard about that? Anybody heard about SuperNet? Yeah, 3 of us. We're working in the project, so I'm glad to see that. I'll explain that later. And it's also a few words about rental pricing. CRM Online is growing quite fast. We now have about 460 customers. I think the average growth of new customers is about 8 every week. And they have in average about 3 to 4, 3.2 users per customer. So it's quite small businesses still. But we got more new CRM online customers this year than we have on-premise customers. And that's worse than nothing. No. So I don't doubt that this business model, this product, will be quite important for SuperOffice in the coming period. I do not believe that the on-premise market will disappear. We are continuing development of our products for the on-premise market with full strength. Most of our customers are still buying the Windows client, at least the small ones. But it's exciting to follow what happened here, and I think we're fairly good positioned. I'll come back to what we're doing in the online market later on in the presentation, but there's still a lot to be done. Quite a lot. If you look at the market best practice, I would say, is Salesforce. It's not ashamed to mention that kind of competitor. You just have to admit that. They've been born in that business. So we admit that we are looking at what they are doing, and maybe even more. The business model, the product, the architecture, what they are. They have been doing that for more than 20 years. We have to look into what they are doing. So they're our best role model in this picture. So for you guys, some of you are making software. You know it's about making good web applications that scale, perform. It's about your software architecture. You have to be able to handle multi-tenants, multi-clients in one hosted environment. It's about pricing. You don't buy the software, you rent it. License system should be self-supported, self-service oriented. The marketing in the online market is different than it used to be. You have to hit them on the net. Or most buying processes of this kind of software start on the net. Of course they do. So if you're not present on the net, Google search, banners, whatever, you're not visible. So you have to be aware of that marketing aspect as well. Training is different. This market expects more self-training, electronic training, that you choose a resource center. You want to serve themselves. And I know that some of the partners have built their own cloud or are building their own cloud. So where are you going to place your own product? Are you building your own hosting center, or are you trying to sell your product into other hosting centers? Important to work on that one as well. So that's about CRM Online. I'll come back to the online areas later on as well. Marketing campaigns. This autumn, they're going to be launched 3 campaigns, 2 for CRM Online and 1 for customer service. And there are some local ones for SuperOffice in general also, in addition to this. And there will also be launched a new website for SuperOffice. So we're doing a lot in this area as well. This is the first one. I don't know exactly when it's going to be launched, but it's an online campaign. As you can see, it's digital, and it's a project. It's struck me when Jennifer Lund, our marketing director, presented this the other day. That it's making campaigns like this is like developing a software product. You have to have a vision, a good idea, a target group, and then you just have to develop it, and not only from an advertising perspective, but you have to make the software to make it work. Distribute it, get leads back, trace it. There's a lot. Landing pages. You have to just develop these kind of ads. That's interesting. Then we tried to capitalize on the award we got earlier this year. We were best in test, a well-known Norwegian company, piece of work, IDG, I think it's owned by. Best in test both on-premise and CRM Online, of course, and we beat all Microsoft CRM Online and the most visible companies in Norway. So we'll do something about that. And there will be a customer service campaign. You can reach quite easily in nirvana, as it's said, by using customer service. I think I have some figures behind here, but the number of service licenses sold to existing customers is quite high, actually. So the customers have upgraded to 7, 10 also to buy customer service. It's the most easy market we have. And then a new website will be launched. You see the figures. We have a library of this pinstripe people. No, not pinstripe, but pin people. Something like that. It's restructured quite a lot, actually. It presents more of the attitude of SuperOffice, the culture, the way we are. The old one is a bit heavy, I think, most of the same. This one is more light, more SuperOffice. It's important that you can recognize SuperOffice culture, also on the net, not only when you meet people. SuperNet. What is that? Maybe I should start down here. You know that we have a lot of different, well, let's call it portals, for partners, for customers, for employees in different forms and shapes, and different technologies. They have been developed during the last 10 years, and they really don't stick that well together. I think most of you know that, because you're using most of them. So we have to start by deciding on one common infrastructure, technical common infrastructure, that is EP Server and Relate Plus. Makes it possible to have one authentication system, one application for forums, one application for articles, for documents, and much easier to share them. One database. Now we don't have one database on this side. There are 4, 5, or 6 different databases, and 4, 5, or 6 different technologies, and 4, 5, or 6 different authentication systems. So we just have to clean up that mess. It's a big job. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it. And it's Tony who's doing it. He's essential to resource in that project, actually. So, and then it's not only about technology. It's an important piece, of course, but the most important thing is that we define an information architecture and design the user experience, whether you're a customer, a partner, an employee, or you're a developer. You just have to design the experience when you use these things. They have to be integrated and designed. So we're working together with a Norwegian company called Making Waves, quite successful, in creating that new portal, new vision of SuperOffice. Our target is, of course, to provide the customers of SuperOffice, partners and employees with the ultimate digital experience. Sometimes I compare this project to, we have one physical SuperOffice. I mean, people, the buildings, the doors. It's all about that. When you get visitors to the office, they're kind of getting authenticated by going to the reception and asking for people. They take brochures, they ask for help, they go into sales meeting. And we just have to make that a digital flip side of SuperOffice. Everything we do physically has to be done also digitally. That's what it's all about. And giving it as a good experience as you do when you meet SuperOffice. So that's actually one picture you could use on that process. The first release of this will be DevNet. So Tony will probably speak a little bit about that and when later on. But hopefully it's this year. It's a big project, as you'll probably see. Rental pricing is the next subject. I believe, and take this as a personal opinion, because it's not totally decided in the management of SuperOffice either, but I believe that renting software will be the preferred way of buying software in the future. I think the customers now see that, well, piling up money and buying software is an old-fashioned way of doing it. They don't feel like they own the software. They have never done it because we have the maintenance. We are the owners of the software. So when you buy something, you don't own it that way. So it gives the customer a feeling of flexibility when he pays per user per month, when he rents the software. He has this perceived freedom. It's not that locked in. It's not true, but you get that feeling when you buy it and you put less money into it in the start. It's also a challenge in big projects. If the customer doesn't spend enough money, maybe it's not so serious as it is if you put $1 million or $2 on the desk. And it moves from capital expense to operational expense, and that's very important for many companies. So we are working on that, and some believes that maybe already in a year, the main price list of SuperOffice will be the rental pricing, not the buy. Now we have a rental price in the lower drawer, so if the customer, that's the last chance to take it up, because you normally use the buying price list. And I believe that will change. We will have these buying prices in the drawer, and the main one will be the renting. And that will change a lot of things, on provisioning to the salespeople, for instance. Mention one thing. Okay, that was 4 different subjects that I picked out, and I think that will have an impact on how we do business in the coming years. And it's about software development and how we develop the products. So, what's going on in R&D these days? How many knows what TFS is? There were a few from R&D as well. It's Team Foundation Server. I'll explain what that is. You know, when a company without an ERP system is kind of a strange company. Yeah, invoicing, accounting, everything is integrated. It's one database, and you run all these main functions into the same system. When you do product development, you need the same. You need an enterprise resource system for software engineering. Everything is integrated. You have one database. You have work items, you have workflows, you have different applications for different purposes, and everything is one suite. And we have chosen to work with Microsoft Visual Studio 2010, and it's called Team Foundation Server, TFS. So that's going to be our production tool. It is already. But we need that. How many, and no hands from R&D now, are working with Visual Studio? Quite a lot. Good. How many are working with TFS 2010 already? Not so many. Working with TFS and Visual Studio 2010 doesn't automatically mean that you're using it to its full potential. It's almost like SuperOffice. You can use 20%, and then you can go the full way. If you go the full way with it, you have an integrated environment. So this is what you can use it for. Are you able to read that in a while? You plan and track. You plan and track your project. You design the product. You develop the product. You build it, and you test it, and you deploy it. So it's the whole life cycle. All integrated. All you do is stored in one database, accessible for project manager, for the tester, for the designer, for the specification guy, for the programmer. Everything is in one system. So this is how we see the beef of this system, actually. When you have an idea, it's like, you know, the Norwegian fishing industry are very developed in this area. If you, when you buy a piece of fish in the shop, it's probably not only the Norwegian fish industry actually, but when you buy a package of fish in the shop, you can trace it back, of course, to who delivered it, which, how do you call it, fence in the sea it was part of, who delivered the food, how much food, and back to the supplier of the food, what did they put into the food. It's traceable from what you pick out of the freezer in the shop and back to who produced the food, when, with what, and everything. This is more or less the same thing. Who got the idea? Who matured the idea? Who specified it? Who did programming it? Who fixed the bugs? Who tested it? Everything is integrated. So it's very, very traceable if you use this system. It's a workflow system, of course. You specify, it moves on to somebody who will design it, and to the programmer and the tester. It's a workflow. So everybody can look at the same work item and add statuses, and you will see all documentation and all bugs and everything. I think if you didn't know it from before, you see the picture. It's a very powerful system if you're able to use it. But it's not that easy to use. It requires something. It's like CRM. You don't have to do it this way. But if you do it, you will get a lot out of it. But to get there, you have to invest. You just have to invest. And we are doing that because we know, through Professor RnD, that we will out of business in 3, 4, 5 years if we don't do that. You cannot be a professional software engineer, software company, if you don't use tools like this. This is a production tool that's modern. You just have to do it. The results will, of course, be, and now the manager voice speaks, of course. You will produce more software with the same amount of resources. That's productivity, of course. You will get faster deliveries, less time to market. You will get better product with higher quality. And you will get satisfied developers because you give them tools that is modern and state-of-the-art. If you have this carpenter with an old hammer, that's not so. You have to give them the good tools to keep them. So we are investing quite a lot in this supervisor. We always plan things in PowerPoint, as you know. We went, I will not go into details here, but we made a technical upgrade in March, started using it. Then we went into a phase where we explored the experience and we tried to find out how can we use this and what are the next phases. And then we started working on that. And then we have moved our existing tools. You know, we were using Visual Studio 2008, source code, system called Perforce, DevTrack, and eJournal for tickets, ScrumWorks for sprint planning, and so forth. And Greenmont, now we have moved everything, almost everything, to Visual Studio 2010 on integrated system. And we will continue because this is hard work. It never stops actually. This is about getting better in your processes and method all the time. We chose Microsoft, I think for obvious reasons. We are using .NET. It's very tightly integrated to the technology we are using. There are good alternatives, but many come from Oracle or SAP or Java open source stuff. And also a quite large number of independent ISV vendors. So there are good alternatives. We chose Microsoft. I think it's the safest bet for us, actually. For those of you who are interested in more details, I can invite you to discuss this with RnD if you're interested in that. What are our experiences? You can also have this book, actually it's a document, where we document how we use TFS. How is our workflow? And why we do things the way we do. Well, it's 45 pages or something like that. 35 pages. So you can access to that if you want. I will, as I did last year, I think I do that on every expandable, invite the partners to share experience from us. Just pick up the phone or send them an email and we'll arrange something. Okay, that was TFS and our tools. And I have some words about planning. Because I think I've been always very, very concerned about the planning process. Doing the right things for SuperOffice. Deciding what to do the right way. Because it's so easy to just jump onto something. Because you're coming home from the last customer meeting and you met this very enthusiastic customer and you really feel, oh, this should really go into the product. And if you meet a customer saying the same thing the day after, I mean, you're virtually going into the product development and going, guys, just have to do this. It's so important. But if you wait another week or a month, and then you meet a couple of other customers, you know what happens? Your brain turns, and your focus almost happened then. So you need a system that matures things, that involves people, and to get a very good view of the size of the project, the market need, all that kind of stuff. And you need time, and the process, and the right people to do that. And I don't think that's special because SuperOffice are 35 developers, which is more than most of the companies here, I believe. And maybe, I think the same applies to smaller companies. I've been working in some smaller companies myself, and I remember how we jumped onto conclusions. So you should always ask, are we doing the right things, developing the right stuff for this company? And it's not easy. So you need people and a democratic development. So it kind of starts with knowing who you are. Which is kind of theoretical, but it's important. We're a software company. I don't know through this. We deliver best of breed. We're deep. We're not expanding. Deep. What we do best. We do design. So every time you come up with this idea, you have to compare it and remember and be aware of this picture, this kind of picture. And everybody involved in making such decisions should be aware of this. Who are we? What are our values? So every time you come up with an idea, and well, let's do this, you should turn around and say, well, does it fit? Okay, it does. Okay, we can move on. Not finished, but one thing was we make continuous investments and technology. We're using about more than 50% of the resources of SuperOffice R&D goes into technology. More than 50%. And it's not because we're slow, I hope. It's just required. It's moving forward, and if you don't follow that and do the investments in technology, you will fall behind. So you need a technology plan, and every time you make a roadmap, is 50% related to technology development? Yes or no? If not, well, be aware of it. This is the same thing actually. In SuperOffice R&D, SuperOffice, there are 4 cornerstones of product development. I always look at these 4 when you define a new roadmap. User experience. Are we doing good enough design? Are something being developed without being designed properly? Not good. Is this inside our domain? Are we doing some... We have this discussion about quotes and offers frequently, again and again. Is it the CRM domain or is it the ERP domain? We can discuss that in the bar. It's probably both, I believe. That's one example. But stick to the core of what you know, your domain, and explore that and improve that. I mentioned investments, and I also have extensibility, expand, raise the case, APIs, to be able to complete our offering through partners. And then you need this model. And it seems very structured when you go in PowerPoint like this. It's a series of meetings. The process is never the same, but it follows the same pattern. These lines indicate that it's after you work with the ideas you have, the result will get smaller than the initial base of ideas. Of course, you can't implement anything, everything. You have to prioritize and select the right stuff. That means saying, for some people, it means like saying no to something. It's not. You just have to be very concrete on what you're doing this time, and then you run another process and you evaluate it again. And sometimes some ideas will take a very long time due to the way that you run this process, like recurring events. I did this process at least 5-6 times without that one inside the roadmap. That's a classic. Well, it starts with this database of ideas. And then you look at this one and you try to find out what is the most interesting topics to work with. Because you need maturity. It's important. You know, ideas have very different maturity rates. From something very interesting to talk about to design a specification. And you know that something that seems to be very simple can turn out to be extremely complex and have dependencies all over the place. So it's extremely difficult and dangerous to decide to do something without having a mature idea. You have to know what you're talking about. So we need this process to discuss that. So you need to mature all ideas, and to do that, you need time. You don't do this in a week. You have to do it, and you have to do it several times, and you have to compare, and it's a structured process. So we're going to evaluate and explore, and after that we take out a selection of what we have explored, and specify and estimate, make it more concrete. You know more about what we can present it to other people. It's more easy. And then we take these specifications, estimates into different roadmaps, scenarios. We can do it like this, if you develop, because they're also always interconnected. And you also want every release to have a certain profile, a theme, either it's functionality or technology or social CRM or can be different stuff. You just have to concentrate on something. You have to have a theme, and it's much easier to present to the market as well. But it's not up to RnD people to decide this. And that's why we have to have different scenarios, different themes, and then invite people to do that, to decide it. And after that is done, we build a roadmap. This is what we're going to do. And we have done that. I've just been through that process. I'm happy to say that I'll present the concrete roadmap at the end of this presentation. Then we do the implementation, of course. This is very concrete. I will show you some slides. I'm not going into detail now. But these actually, it's real world ideas we have. This was the top level. And there's different techniques we use to involve people in the different ideas we have. And I'll show you a series of slides on how we do that. And this is one. You can see that I have sorted it after features. And I think this is something I believe we can do now, and this is something I believe we can do later. Just to help the people involved in the process in some way. And some would say, well, I don't agree. I don't think that. I think we should do more social CRM and move it over here. I think we should do that now. But that's okay. If that big person, we'll move it over, because the prioritization comes later. Modules, new modules, priced, more specific features. Online area, what can we do there? And then on the technology side, what are our basic requirements, IDs, and improve them. So it's not something I made for this presentation. This was actually what we started out. And then we need sometimes techniques for valuing these different ideas. Along this axis, you have value for existing customers, keeping the maintenance, keeping the existing customers happy. Good idea. Low value, high value, and this is the strategic value. Maybe it generates new business opportunities. And if you can create something that has high value for existing customers and also high value as a strategic mean, then it's perfect. Low value for existing customer, not so strategic, well, not so interesting. So it's a good thing to try to place the different IDs in this matrix. I would say a new find feature, that was one of the few things I don't think was not so successful in SuperOffice 7. We find out quite soon that we have to rewrite that one. Good example, very high value for existing customers. You can even lose customers by having this, not having a good search function. New customers, probably they just expect that. Very low value. Stakeholders, you're able to put persons onto a sale. High value for existing customers if you use the sale function. And not so interesting for new customers. It's not that visible actually. Project guide, talk about that. We could. That was one of the ideas. If we copy the sales guide onto the project, interesting. Then we strengthen the project part of SuperOffice. I also think that the existing customers using the project will be happy about such things. So it's moving a little bit that way. Document archiving. new document archive system. I think that could move us into a new, attract new customers. I'm a little bit unsure about the customers we have today, how important that is. We know that it's very important for some, but for the volume of customers, I'm not that sure. Offers and quotes, both valued for existing customers, I believe, and also attract new customers because we have it. And then we know also that there's other things to evaluate. It's a big project. Do we have the domain knowledge, moving into the articles and discounts and everything, so things are going to change, can be a challenge. And then we continue like this. And then we add information like how big is this task? Is it complex? Does it have a risk? Are they interconnected? Are there dependencies to other projects? What is the available resources in product development? Domain competency. Do you know this? What is the theme of what we're thinking of? And then we continue. And define what, who, why clarifications. What should we make, for whom, and why are we doing this? To make it very, very clear why we're doing this. If you're not able to write these things down, it's probably not a good idea. And we vote, that's the technique we're using, taking all the candidates, gathering people, and then we just vote. It's a nice technique to use to avoid that the bosses decides everything. We do resource planning this way in Excel, all the people, all the project, because they have different skills, different interests, and they are limited. So we just have to map the different ideas to the available resources using Excel. We have to have good teams, put together the good teams that fits together with designers, testers, programmers, skills, knowledge. And during this period, we make alternative roadmaps. Again and again and again. Very detailed, and it's not so easy, it's not meant to be presented. If you're in the project, in the group, you'll understand them, but if you're not, then it's very hard. The result of this process for us was summarized in 5 different points, issues, goals. We got the message from the PSB, I call it, Product Strategy Board, as was the mayors of SuperOffice, the ministers and mayors, and the Prime Minister and the King. Guys, you should build a rock-solid online offering. It's extremely important for SuperOffice. Give that priority. Message number 1. You should build a supermarket. You're using far too much time in the buying process, in the licensing. It's manual, and it's not modern. You have to be able to shop SuperOffice products online. You have to be able to download the software automatically. It just has to be done. We always have to, we can never leave the core product. You have to continue improving the functionality. Customers are asking for that all the time. So we always do that. Selected areas. It's so important to be on the different devices, not fall behind. Mobile phones, pads, Macs, PCs, different sizes. Touch or not touch. It's been extremely rapid evolution in that area the last 5-6 years. And so, as you know, SuperOffice were originally built for a Windows client. We go back to the 1990s, and then it was for the web and Windows, and now it's for mobile web and Windows. What about the pads? Can you run the web client on the pad? Lots of questions. I think most of you are into these questions sometimes. And then, as been my point, of course, continue to improve the way we're working in R&D. Faster, better, more. I'll briefly go through these and add some more comments to each of these 5. We have defined 3 phases in our cloud business. The first one, establish a cloud offering, basic offering, test the market, prepare the organization. We did that. We did that in 2010. We have almost 1,500 customers, 460 customers, 1,500 users. It's working. You can buy it. It's okay. It's without marketing. It's very interesting. I think we covered phase 1 pretty good. And it was not a big development project. We basically took what we had and wrapped it and gave it an online look, online environment. Of course, we were happy because we had a very good platform and we had a very good web client. If we didn't have that, then of course we wouldn't be there. So I'm happy we invested in that in 2005, 2006, 2007. That was important. The next phase, we are starting that now. Have been in that phase for some months. We are optimizing what we have. We were a little bit more aggressive, if you go back to the last 5-6 months, in introducing new products, new services, as it's called, customer service, audience. We were really eager to complete the product offering. What we see now is that you have to make it more scalable, more robust, get more experience, build the web services, APIs. You have to finish the whole concept before you add on even more services. So that's all what we're going to focus on in 2011 and 2012. And then in phase 3, we're going to extend the concept. And I believe that in 2 years, both the customers and we will also have an offering for, I'm not allowed to call them enterprise customers, I call them a rich offering for extensive projects. It's like we should be able to offer the most challenging customers and projects we have today an online offering to run in the cloud, like Salesforce do. So we are working, that is the vision, we are moving in that direction without jeopardizing or moving away from the on-premise alternative. But my vision is that you work with the customer, it's quite challenging, he has specifications, you work with him for 2 months, and you have not yet discussed which platform, which deployment, and not the price. So that's the last thing you ask. Well, we haven't now discussed the product and the project and everything. You haven't said anything about the pricing model. Do you want to buy it or want to rent it? Or you want to have it on-premise or in the cloud? You can offer anything. In 3 years, I hope we can be there, 3-4 years. Build a supermarket. You can buy products from SuperOffice, both online customers and on-premise customers. If you're a new customer, you can do it in our shop, in our supermarket. And if you're an existing customer, you can add new licenses, buy new licenses. If you're on CRM Online, you should be able to do this without speaking to anyone. Go to the web shop, register what you want, push the button, receive an email, and log into CRM Online. I don't say that's our preferred business model, but it should be possible. And same things when it's on-premise, you just get the download automatically. And in phase 2, we will open up a partner software marketplace or something like that. Because as we see now, we cannot be alone in the online system if you want to reach that enterprise offering I described, and you have to open up for partners. And we have started on that one as well. We are working with InfoBridge and Business Analyze to see how we can add their software to CRM Online. It's very immature, but you will see some results of that in 2012. There's also discussion about business models, the download, the provision, and the partner software. Is it suited for a hosted environment like this, multi-tenant environment? Erik will come back on this one in a few minutes. And then it's the client development that I briefly spoke about. Our strategy can be summarized in these 3 bullets. We have a Windows client. It runs on a PC with Windows. We have a web client that is designed 1280, 1024, PC and Mac, big screen. And we have Pocket, which runs on a mobile and a pad, Android, iOS. We think that we will continue to migrate the Windows version onto the NetServer platform. Now I think about 40% of the code in the Windows client is now NetServer. So it's getting less and more and more. Less and less Windows-dependent code. And we will continue that. No plans of doing anything else about the C++ and the Windows code. We're not working with alternative Windows client tools like VPF. We have a good client. We're happy about C++. Know it. We think that HTML5 is the direction of the web client. It's very prospective. HTML5 is new features in HTML. It's more rich, it's faster, it gives new possibilities. And most of you have probably also noticed that the browser is the only true cross-platform or cross-device technology that exists. So if you want today to write one application that runs on all devices, you do it with HTML5 for a browser. And it runs on any device. But it has quite limitations and it does not give you the right user experience. You see that touch or not touch. In the beginning, touch enabling SuperOffice 6 was quite easy. Right? But if you really go into like a good user interface for touch applications, it's a different story. You have to do more. As long as we aim for the optimal user experience, native apps like the Windows client and the Embrex Pocket is still the best solution. That's how it is. So, summarized, this is the way we deliver our clients today. That's basically the same thing as I said just said. And the dream client landscape. It's kind of messy, the whole thing. Different clients, new devices. So the dream, as I see it, we don't have had a project in RnD on this, but if you could develop one client that was as rich as fast as the Windows client, it was running in a browser because it's cross-device, cross-platform, and it feels like a native app, that would be adaptive to the screen size, not only the resolution, but the contents of the screen changes depending on the screen size, and touch enabled, touch and or keyboard. That would be very nice. So this is the dream. If you log on, you buy a multi-client license from SuperOffice. It's one license. And when you log on, SuperOffice, the device will inform SuperOffice about the properties of this device. Like I'm Pat, I have this kind of screen, I'm running this operating system, I'm touched, I'm so touched about this. And then SuperOffice automatically gives you the right user interface. Magic. But it's not doable today. It's almost doable. But it requires extreme investments to do it. So we still have to live with 2 or 3 clients some more years. Erik, are you soon ready? Prepare yourself. This is the roadmap for 2011-2012. We are going to deliver a version of Supermarket before Christmas. We are going to deliver a tray app for Mac to do proper document handling. We are launching 7.1. It will be in a beta version if everything goes according to plan. It's hard to say. Not so strict about release times this time, but it's an indication. Eric will tell you exactly when. And then we have defined 7.2. And well, this one, 7.2, very short, we have made a web-based admin client. We will still keep the Windows client for admin, because the existing customer requires that. And we also make a new product called Reportix. It's an internal name, but we rewrite Reporter to make it more suited for web. Also change the library so it will be a bit more up to speed, up to date. Very exciting. Much more graphical than it is today. But it's still not analytics. Web services, expand the SDKs 7.2 is the next one. We will improve the versioning, the contract stability. We will have new and improved web services. They will be inspired by Salesforce. We will probably introduce REST. This is a lightweight web services protocol. Webhooks. Tony and Jens can describe to you later what that is. We will make custom tables and fields available through the web services interface. We will announce the death of the WinData API later on, end of life. And we will introduce application authentication and accounting features in online environment. So there's a lot of stuff happening in web services as well. That was what I planned to say. So, Eric, the stage is yours. I'm not coming back on stage at least, so bye for now.
Was not a sales pitch, the reporter pitch you took there. The reporter is going to be fantastic when it comes out in 7.2. Yeah. Yes, now we're down to the practical details. Some of you wants to know what SuperOffice will deliver in the next version, and that's fair enough. To start with, lots of people are quite stuffed still when it comes to 7.0. So launching immediately a version 8 is unthinkable for SuperOffice. We will have to stabilize, evolve the things we already shipped, and get people to know SuperOffice again. That's some of the basic ideas. Before we start, short status on things that comes before 7.1. I will talk a bit about the SR2 of 7.0. The pockets were in 3.1. SuperOffice Learning Online. And the web extension for the Macintosh. The tray app for the Macintosh. We'll have a few words on that. Yes, let's just start. Service Release 2 is a minor service release for SuperOffice. Service Release 1 was a big service release with about 800 to 600 issues addressed inside one service release. That's almost up there where we can handle it. Now we have progress down and solved 46 different issues across the different products. The main reason for launching SR2 is that we need SSL support for customer service. That's a deal breaker for some customers. They would like to have SSL support, encrypted communication between the mail server and customer service. So that's the main reason. And the happy news is that we release it today. I guess it's already up there on the beta portal at the moment as a release product. SuperOffice ASA. SuperOffice ASA installed it last night, so we are the first customer that on the SR2. But it looks quite good, and we have spent quite some time testing, of course, upgrading and stuff like that. So no database changes, no major changes. It's just some issues solved, and also the SSL support. SSL support means that the communication between customer service and your mail server now can be performed both ways, both incoming and outgoing, using SSL. And for those who are interested, the details is very easy. You go into the properties on the mailbox that you define and just select IMAP S if that's your SSL on the IMAP protocol, or POP protocol. You can also do that. You will also be able to add a username and password and check for your outgoing email. Lots of mail services provide that today. So you can now, in theory, or for example, use Google Mail as your mail server for customer service. So I think we now can run customer service against any mail server out there. That's good news. Short, Pocket CRM. The main thing of Pocket CRM 3.1. How many here are running Pocket CRM 3.0? Hands up. You should really install it. The main thing is now to gather what we have on 2.1, that Symbian and BlackBerry devices is still only supporting 2.1. With Android and iPhones, that's 3.0. Those will be one product. That's one achievement that we will do with it. But also we will change some braking, braking, that's a new Norwegian word, for versioning. Meaning that we have to disconnect the very tight connection there is between the version of the Pocket server and the version of the Pocket client. Because now we put the version, the client version for the iPhone out there on the App Store. And when we publish a new version up on the App Store, we cannot expect every customer to upgrade their server at the same time, at the same second that we publish this new one. So we have to solve that. So we have loosened up now the relation between the version of the client and the version of the server. So there will be some slack there. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different versions of the client running against the same version of the server, and vice versa. Of course, if there are totally new features and new services needed, then we will have to upgrade both of them, but then we probably will launch a new product and not just a fix of the existing clients. That's how it's done. You will also do things to increase performance. It's a standard thing that we always work on continuously in RnD, especially on phones. Windows Phone 7 is not going to have a version in 3.1. That's just to state. I don't hear large objections to that, because most of you have never seen a Windows Phone 7, I guess. And it looks like it will stay that way a bit longer. It's going to be very interesting to see how they will do when Nokia and Microsoft finally enters the market together. But at the moment, we don't have a solution for Windows Phone 7. Next is Solo, our online learning system. It's still the same contractor in the end. It's still a LMS, a learning management system behind, so you can take tests and keep track of who is doing what and done that on the administrator side. But on the user side, we have some new strategy. Of course, we must have a product that supports SuperOffice 7, not only SuperOffice 6. It's stupid to give out the course on SuperOffice 6 when you have customers running SuperOffice 7. But we have also 2 or 3 different goals with this. We have made a new layout to it, so it will be a nicer, a prettier product to look at. We have also changed the content of the course by starting every chapter not with an explanation of what you are going to learn, but why it's important that you learn it. So it's trying to be a bit motivated when you start up and try to engage the users. And also it will be easier to log on. So if you get a license from Learning Online into your admin client, and then every user will have a solo menu item, so they can start up right away without logging in or doing anything, just going in automatically. So there are 3 things. We will launch the Norwegian version first now in September, and the 5 other languages will be available in Q4. So if you want to look at how it's the intros and motivational part of it, would look like this, where a lady comes in and explains what you will go through and why it's important and what you will achieve with it. And the training and movies will have this look and feel where you can see a quite clear SuperOffice part. If your screen is smaller, you can shift in this menu over here, so it will slide in and out if you don't have a space on the screen. So I think it's been a tremendous lift when it comes to both the look and feel and also the way we present SolarWinds. That's good news. One slide I missed is that we are now building also a tray app for the Macintosh. Means automatic upload and download of documents when using web. To be able to do that fully automatically when you start the web client and be able to download it from there, we need to wait until 7.1, because that's where the logic for downloading and uploading and stuff is when it comes to installing the software. But we hope to be able to go to the market with a simple installer that we can give to the customer, and he can install it and be up and running against existing 7.0. So that's hopefully going to be hit the market before 7.1 does. But especially for the online customers, lots of them are using Macintosh as their PC. Okay, now down to 7.1. The theme for 7.1 is to try not to move huge steps further from 7.0. Because if we now introduced a totally new concepts in 7.1, then I think people will think it's too much. Now they need to consume and learn and evolve together with the existing 7.0. So we have done something that we think is a natural enhancement to 7.0, and also things that comes quite natural to 7.0. Things we really planned to have inside 7.0 but didn't finish. When it comes to sales and marketing, I will show you a few screenshots on this later on. It's the project guide that's been people have been asking for. It's what we call stakeholders on sale. It's a improved, not new, but an improved file dialogue. That is the main features. We've also rewritten most of the archives. If you know what an archive in SuperOffice is, that's the lists that are below the main cards. So they all have the same columns to choose from, all have the same possibilities to sort and stuff like that. So now Win and Web are exactly the same, which column set and sorter to choose from. When it comes to customer service, we have written a SMS plugin. We have changed and upgraded the HTML editor, so it will be easier to register or work with the content of a message. And we have done some investments in technology when it comes to performance. Another very important project for us is a new version of Mailink. Mailink today, especially against web customers and in large Citrix environments, are causing far too much support for all of us. I think most of you have been banging your head against the big Citrix server and tried to search where is the problem. Some of these problems are because we upgraded from 6 to 7 and we changed installation technologies and all these things. So we can't really expect to get rid of all problems for customers who are upgrading from 6 to 7. But at least for upgrading from 7 to 7.1 and for new installations from 7, we will have a strict focus on that. I will come back to the mailing part also. So we will also do some improvements in e-marketing. I'll talk a bit about that. But it's basically around creating the message and the links inside e-marketing, and also creating new link actions. What will happen when a customer clicks this link? So we will offer more functionality when it comes to that. Let's start off soft. We have upgraded our HTML editor, giving us a new toolbar inside customer service, all dialogues. We have taken away some of the features that was never used, and we have branded it with SuperOffice look and feel and made sure it's only one line. So it will not eat your whole screen with the stuff you never use. That's a good idea. We are also doing a lot of investments when it comes to performance in customer service. Now really the technical guy Eric is talking, because I can hardly pronounce half of these things, but we have improved existing code to make it more efficient, especially when it comes to style sheets. We have also switched our CDA technology to something called fast CDA, and I've been told that that means that you don't shut down the whole exe file every time a request is finished. So you can keep the exe file that CDA is based on up and running throughout several requests. So that should also increase something. We're also starting to use more Ajax, meaning that you don't have to render and reload the file, the whole screen, every time you make change in user interface. So, and the result of this will be a faster user experience for the end user. We've also made a SMS gateway plugin framework. That's a perfect word for a SDK. Meaning that we enable now every vendor who wants to connect to customer service the possibility to write their plugin so that they can use them as an SMS provider. When it comes to email, SMTP is standard. You use the same API and it works everywhere. When it comes to SMS, that's a totally different story. Every vendor that offers a gateway service for an SMS has a different set of parameters, and I want the password first and you want the username last, and everyone is making up their own API. So we have now built a plugin architecture, much like the document plugins that we have, but far much easier. It's a very small API that is implemented, so that any vendor can offer, the customer can pick the vendor he would like and say, do you have an SMS plugin to customer service? And if he say yes, then it's good, then I install it. If he say no, okay, then I can make one. It will come up with the two plugins with Norwegian SMS providers, and it will be example code on how to make it on Delnet. So it should be quite easy project to make. Meaning that you can automate sending out of SMS through e-marketing or customer service when a task is completed and or you have a new status or whatever. And also incoming responses can also come in from SMS and be pushed into the SuperOffice database as a response to a request. That's what SMS gateway is all about. We have done something to improve the links in e-marketing, because that's the area where I feel that you have to be the most expert to handle. As a marketing person, it should be easier to add a link to a message that you want to send out. And we will also add more tasks you can execute from pressing a link, and that several tasks is executed with one hit on a link. So if a customer hits, I want to know more, we can now book a appointment in the key account manager's diary in SuperOffice. We can add an interest to him or remove him from a project. So there are at the same time with one click. So there are quite powerful features that's behind this. Might be hard to say, but now you go in and define a link. You don't go and define a link and then back to a totally different place where you have links and pick up the link and give it a new name and the URL. Now you do everything at the same thing. One dialog, create a link, give it a name, set what to do, where to land, custom messages, what actions to be done inside SuperOffice, and then you're done. So everything in one dialog. I think that's a great improvement that the customer service team has made to this feature. We are soon over, I guess. Our browser. You can also have a library of links. So you can add links from a library that you have predefined or someone has made. And in this message, I would like to get this link in and put it into the message. That's quite easy. I'm going to run short through this because I think we are a bit over time. We have made stakeholders in sales. This can be turned on and off by a preference, but it's more like project members on a sale. And it can be used for see partners involved, different roles people have in the project, who is decision makers in different phases of the sale, are there subcontractors and stuff like that. And it's instead of project member, it's stakeholders, and you have a role. This is an archive on a sale that will show stakeholders, people who are working with this sale. You can also, on the customer side, go to a contact and list all sales, and you can then also include what we call stakeholder sales. So if we go to, for example, the customer card of Advisa, we can see all sales that SuperOffice are making against customers that Advisa is involved in. So there are possibilities to use this as a partner selling also. Project guide. If you know the sales guide, you know immediately the project guide. There are two different things that are different between projects and sales. And that is, in projects, not all activities are done by the same person. In sales, it's often the salesman who do all the activities. In project, a project manager assigns different activities. So, you also say that, and another thing different is that some activities are more important than others. So you can flag them as especially important activities or milestone activities, as we call them. So you can focus on, as a project manager, on these milestones activities, and the rest of the project member can focus on the rest of the activities. And you have also a possibility to just click on documents and take a follow, and then you will have a document-focused archive based on the stages of the project. And the way they do it, they say there are two different things. This activity, when I define it in the project guide, I can say, is this a milestone follow-up? And when I click create, should I ask who I would like to assign this to? And when you click create on the button, it will come up with a dialog that says, select among the project members of this project, people who are associates in SuperOffice, and let you pick from that list, so that you won't forget it. And then it will automatically end up in their invitation dialog as an assignment that they can accept or reject. Moving fast on. Improved find dialog. Most people have sweared quite a lot with the new find dialog in SuperOffice, because every time they should change a letter, they have to click and get a dialog and pick from a list and do lots of things. And we have now made a dialog that has direct edit into every field, except some of the hardest save criteria, of course. But you can now write directly in here or pick a date directly for there or have a drop down directly from the list. So you don't have to go in and change it. You can also change the rank of each criteria. So if I almost every time search for company name, then I just move it up on the top and it will stay there. We have also moved the find button because people really didn't understand the concept of up and down, so they moved everything down here. Also done a lot of usability improvements, so you have to use it live to see how it goes. And due to the amount of hardware I received from Camilla in this, we have made a new field that you can search for company that is exactly, because you can search for, give me all documents that is written towards companies that name starts with Telenor. You know, it's 500 company that starts with Telenor, but you can pick only one company. Like a drop down you have in the fast search, you can turn the company into a drop down and pick one company directly. And that's also an improvement when it comes to the things that you can limit your sales to. Ooh, faster and faster and faster. Mailing 7.1, there are two basic things we want to do with mailing. We want to make it more stable, and we want to make it faster. That's the two goals, and that's what we are aiming for. To do that, we have to take away everything that we have been running, trying to build into the system. For example, if you are Office 2003 Service Pack 3, then do this. If not, do that. If the register key is that, then your version is this, then do this. So we have been writing a lot of code to support as many versions of Outlook as possible. With Outlook 2007, there was a new API against programming against Outlook that can be used directly and more less complicated code. So we will set now that mailing 7.1 will only support Outlook 2007 or newer. Meaning that people that have the old version may install the old mailing for SuperOffice 7 and it should work for older versions. But the new mailing will focus on the technology provided by Office 2007 and earlier, or later. We will move all user interface into Outlook, so that when they are in Outlook. So when you press Archive inside Outlook, you will get an Outlook dialog that says, what customer would you like to archive it on, what is the subject, and all these things, and not try to switch to SuperOffice and trigger a document dialog with 5 fields that you really don't need because you don't always want to save. You just get this dialog immediately, and then we send the save background to the server in the background, and the user can keep on working. So you don't have to work and switch to SuperOffice, and the dialog went behind the other window, I didn't find it, and all these normal things that we are struggling with. So this is the basic idea with the Outlook menu. Make it more robust, make it faster, especially on web installations, make it easier to deploy on complex Citrix installations. We will also add support for Outlook mailing and also readers for both 32 and 64-bit versions of Office. People don't call us to ask, is it okay to install the 64-bit version of Word? They never do. They call us and say, it doesn't work. And we say, no, you're stupid, you have to have the 32-bit version. And, it's an unacceptable message. So the next version will support both. So the only question left then is when. As you saw on the GitHub roadmap, we hope to be in beta before Christmas. That's our goal in RnD, and that means that we have a schedule to be there quite early in December, because we can fall a week behind, and we are not allowed to go on Christmas holiday before we have a beta version. So Okay, now I think it's lunch. So far behind, but thank you for now and have a nice lunch.